ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ वर्स् 205 विश्वरूपाध्याय एषः उक्तः सूक्तेऽपि पौरुषे धात्रादिस्तम्भपर्यन्तान् एतस्यावयवान् विदुः. So Vidyaranya established the nature of Ishvara as consisting of three components, that is Brahma Chaitanyam, consciousness, and Maya Pratibimbita Chaitanyam and Maya. And all these three components put together is Tat Padartha. And then he talked about the glory of Tat Padartha also. As such, Brahman does not have any glory, it is Nirguna. Glory will be means the attributes. And therefore, Nirgunam Brahma has no attributes and therefore there are no glory as such. But the reflected consciousness plus the Maya, which is called Sagunam Brahma, Ishvara, has all the glories. And Maya is a Upadhi which has brought these all glories, definitely. Since the Upadhi is a Vishuddha Sattva and therefore the glories are also of a superior, it has all superior attributes. So Ishvara has all superior attributes, Sarvajñatvam, Sarveshwaratvam, and we also saw Antaryamitvam and Jagat Karanam, etc. So, and then this Tatpadartha Ishvara also with all attributes creates a universe in two stages. First stage is Ishvara himself transforms into Hiranyagarbha. So, Karana Prapancha Vimani Chaitanyam transforms into Sukshma Prapancha Vimani Chaitanyam. And that's the first stage. And then second stage is from Hiranyagarbha to Virat. So, Sukshma Prapancha Vimani Chaitanyam transforms to Sthula Prapancha Vimani Chaitanyam. So this Virat, Hiranyagarbha, Ishvara, all these things, they refer not to Prapancha. They refer to reflected consciousness. Because conscious being, Ishvara conscious being, Hiranyagarbha conscious being, Virat conscious being. Of course, these Prapanchas are Upadhi for them. Due to that only one Brahman alone, due to Upadhi, appear as a Ishvara, etc. Anyway, thereafter Vidyaranya says in this verse 205 that they are not all these things which I described in a creation, Hiranyagarbha, Virat, etc. This is all not a figment of imagination. There is Shruti and Smriti both talk about it. And we saw also, Purusha Sukta talks about that Ishvara transforms into Virat Purusha. That is how it is. So Purusha they call. Purusha turns to Virat. Tasmad Virat Ajayata. Virat Ajayata. Virat was born from this Purusha, called Ishvara. And and the second, that's a Shruti Pramana. Second is a Smriti Pramana called Bhagavad Gita, in that Vishwa Vishwarupa Adhyaya, 11th chapter talks about the where Bhagavan himself showed a Vishwarupa, so Virat. And so Vaishwanara, Virat, Vishwarupa, all are synonymous words. So, so Virat has got all this a totality as its body. And then if this total Sthula Prapancha is this body, then every individual is a part of the Virat. So Panchabhutas are even a part of Virat. All Jivas are part of Virat. All Devatas including. Brahmaji also is a part of Virat. And so Dhatradi Stamba Paryanta, all the Vayavas, all the parts have been shown. Dhatru means a Brahmaji. Stamba Paryanta, I have told you last time. So Stamba is equal to here a smallest Jiva. Even a grass, small grass, which is grown, that also is also part of Virat. So this is how this has been. The whole, the description of the Virat was over here, and so one can look upon the whole creation as now Virat Purusha, as the Ishvara only. So that is that all depends upon the attitude of a person. Otherwise, it is simply a creation. For others, it is a creation. For a devotee, it is a Virat Purusha. And then he says that this devotee says all eyes are eyes of Ishvara. All legs are legs of Ishvara. So my eyes are actually eyes of Ishvara alone. And therefore, even in the Vishwarupa itself, if I remember, it has been shown that Virat Purusha has thousands of eyes and thousands of mouths and etc. The same thing. So all are eyes of Virat. All mouths are the mouths of Virat, basically. So every individual mouth is a part of him. Anyway, so and then how come Virat has avaya, Nirguna Brahma has no avaya, right, as such? And so all these avayavas are of Brahman, but Saguna Brahman, we have to say that way. Anyway, and so Vyashti, Samashti, all these differences also will not be there at the Nirgunam level. It will be there only at a Sagunam level. So Virat means Samashti. You are part of it, Vyashti. Vyashti is all the time connected. Vyashti is included in Samashti, yet Vyashti is related to Samashti. Vyashti as an individual. I gave you example of a forest. Every tree in a forest is included already in the forest, but yet every tree is related to forest. And therefore, because generally we say Samashti means, well, Vyashti should not be included. No, Vyashti is there, but Vyashti is related to Samashti. It should be included in Samashti. At the same time, Vyashti is there. It has its own reality, and Vyashti, well, definitely is connected to Samashti. It's an invariable relationship. Vyashti Samashti relationship, Jiva Ishvara relationship, from the standpoint of this Vyavara, is an invariable relationship. It will be there in all the lives. It will be there. All other relationships are temporary relations. The basic relationship. The basic person, Swamiji, as Puja Swamiji is to tell, basic person is a devotee, because basically you are all the time connected to Samashti called Ishvara. Therefore, that is the basic person, you, who is connected to Samashti, well, is a devotee. All other things come later. So that devotee, the basic person, becomes a son and daughter and these and that, etc. So this is from Vyavaharic standpoint, part, whole, relationship, etc. From Nirgunam Brahma standpoint, there is nothing. That's what we are going to see now, later, this, Tattvamasi, etc. Where all this Vyashti, Samashti, all things will resolve. Jiva, Ishvara, etc. And so, from Vyavaharic standpoint, if part, whole relationship is there, then we are Vishishtadvaitin. Yeah, we are Vishishtadvaitin, no problem. You can call us Vishishtadvaitin. If you want, we can put Namam also, no problem. And therefore, we have no problem. From a Vyavaharic standpoint, part, whole relationship, Amshamshi relationship, Vyashti, Samashti relationship is there. That's fine. We are one step ahead. Advaitins are one step ahead. From Vyavahara standpoint, Vishishtadvaiti. But from Paramathic standpoint, we are Advaita. So this is how it is. Okay. This up to this I think we saw in the last class. Let's go now go to verse 206. Isha Sutra Virat Vedo Vishnu Rudrendra Vannayah Vigna Bhairava Mairala Marika Yaksharakshasa. So, all individuals are included in Virat. So now in the whole list, what are the parts of Virat? Like I have so many parts like heart and kidneys and these and that, and same way Virat also has many parts. What are those parts? So some of them are now here listed. So since Vyashti is basically, this is very important to know that Vyashti is not separate from Virat, then you can worship Virat through Vyashti, because Vyashti is connected. Vyashti is non-separate from Samashti, and therefore you can worship Virat. You cannot worship Virat. Nobody can worship. Whole Virat you cannot worship. So you can worship Vyashti. Then, so you can worship Virat through Vyashti, because Vyashti is non-separate from the Samashti. So like if you want to salute the whole country, you can salute one flag. That's enough. So you can't salute the whole country. How will you, such a big country like United States, how will you salute? You can't salute. So well, you can salute the flag, which is non-separate from the particular country, then definitely you can do that way. So if you want to worship Narmada, we reverse, right? We do Ganga Pujanam. Whenever we go to Rishikesh, we do Ganga Pujanam. Ganga Pujanam you have to do means what? Start from the Gobukam to up to the Bay of Bengal, whole flow. You cannot worship Ganga, every drop of. So wherever you are in our ashram, where it is flowing, there itself you worship. So you worship a part, but you are worshipping actually whole. Because that part is non-separate from the whole. So you worship the whole while worshipping the part. So like you worship suppose a Acharya, some Guru. So you can worship basically Dakshinamurti through Guru. Anyway, I will talk it little later. So this is how some people, even in Guru Pujanam, etc., we have seen. Like suppose Puja Swamiji we used to worship, right? Whenever he was here, then there was Guru Purnima, and then you worship. What will you do? So to worship Puja Swamiji, what should you do? Well, you cannot worship. If you want to worship Puja Swamiji, means you have to worship whole puja has to be done on the whole body. Nobody does that. And you simply do a Pad Puja. That's enough. Because the feet is non-separate from that person, Swamiji. So therefore, you worship. And you should worship the head, because that is how Guru stand, because he's from the heads. But you can't worship the head generally. So you worship feet. Anyway, so Avayava worship is as good as Avayavi worship. That is how it is. So Vidyaranya says, well, all these human beings and animals and plants and whole thing they have described. Stone and mud and devatas and all are basically Avayavas of Virat. So anyone you worship, you are worshipping the Virat. So well, in our this great culture, we worship everything. Superficially, it appears that we are worshipping a tree, or we are worshipping a land, Bhumi Pujanam, Vriksha Pujanam, etc., etc., or even a Naga Pujanam, worshipping a serpent. So, but all are Avayavas of Virat, and so I can invoke him through any Avayava. So Vidyaranya says all forms of worship are valid, and well, Ishvara does Anugraha also. So indirectly he is giving a message to these fanatics and different cults, etc., different groups. Well, Shiva is a real god, or Vishnu is a real god. Don't worship any other god. Not even take a name of Shiva also. What will you do? You have to do Vishnu Sahasranama, you are Vaishnava, what will you do? The Shiva word appears there, what will you do? You will remain silent or what? Shiva, right? Shiva word is there in Vishnu Sahasranama. Sarvash Shivasthanuhu, Achaloyam Sanat, etc., etc. Sarvaha, Sharvaha, Shivaha. Anyway, So basically, we worship only our prophet. He is only God. There is no other God. Like that. So I think he is answering. Vidyaranyaka is answering all these different people. There is so much fight between the Shaivas and Vaishnavas, etc. So it is all ignorance. Not knowing who is Ishvara. That's a problem. If you don't know his Samashti, then you take a one particular form as the form. And you don't include other forms. All forms are his form because he is formless. All this is a background knowledge of Ishvara. So if that darshanam is not there, with that limited vision, this kind of problems will occur, definitely occur. So Shiva form is as good as any other form. And so he is giving a list here. I am justifying here because he is giving a whole list in 206, 207 and 208. Several forms he is describing. He is saying Sarve Ishvaraha. All these are Ishvara. A tree is a Ishvara. This is Ishvara. That is Ishvara, etc. etc. And but Swamiji, that should not be said. This is a part of Ishvara, it should be said. No, never. Why? Why not? Because this is how you use in a language. Like, so basically Ishvara Vaya is not different from Ishvara. Like, when a person, somebody calls me and gives a message, Swamiji, so and so person was operated yesterday. His particular part in the body was operated. But you refer to Samashti only. So this is how it is. Therefore, when you worship a Vriksha, we should not use like this, part of Virat called Vriksha is worship. No. Vriksha is worship means Virat is worship. Avayava Puja is Avayavi Puja. When you worship a feet of Puja Swamiji, you are not saying I am worshipping feet of Puja Swamiji. You say I am doing puja of Swamiji on Guru Purnima, whatever. So this is how it is. This is how we use, because that is a non-separate. Avayava is always non-separate from the Avayavi. And therefore, even though you worship a Avayava, we say we are worshipping Ishvara. So that's what he is saying. Ishvaraha Sarveva. After giving list, this, and he said, these all are Ishvara. That's true. We should not say these are parts of Ishvara. And Puja Swamiji used to give an example. I remember that when you want to invoke, suppose you want to draw my attention, suppose. Then first you will call my name, Swamiji, and Swami is little problem in ears. Then definitely, what will you do? You will just touch my finger, right? Little finger. So to invoke the whole person, to draw somebody's attention as a whole person, you are touching one part. You are not touching whole that person. Even though you touch a little finger, basically you are invoking the whole person. That's how it is. And therefore, you are drawing my whole attention. That is how it is. So you are invoking the Virat, the Ishvara, in a little finger called Vriksha. Or a little finger called any Devata, anything. Or even a part of, a river, let us say. So you are worshipping. This is going to be a big difference. That's what I am going to discuss. People, they are confused. A lot of people are confused. Are they worshipping Devata or are they worshipping Ishvara? It is like this. So the whole is a game of a attitude. That's what Bhagavan also said. I'll talk about it. So basically, this is how, you can invoke the whole person by invoking a little part. Anyway, so, what are the forms to choose for worship? He is now giving. Ishaha, Ishvara, Samashti Karana Prapancha Abhimani Chaitanya. Then says Sutra, Samashti Sukshma Prapancha Abhimani Chaitanya. We have discussed, right? Sutratma. And then Virat. These are all Avayavas, but these are all Ishvara. These are part of Ishvara, means they are Ishvara. Virat, Sthula Prapancha Abhimani Chaitanya. Then Vedaha, Brahmaji, right? Vedas, there is a Sakaranta Pullinga word, Vedas Shabdaha. And Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachanam is Veda. Vedaha, Vedasau, Vedasaha, etc. These are the forms. Chaturmukha Brahma. You can worship in form of Chaturmukha Brahma. Then Vishnu. So, well, definitely Chaturbhujam. Shankha Chakra Gada Padmadhari. Because of all forms. So, Rudra. Well, Trinetradhari, Jatajutadhari, etc. etc. Shiva. Then Indra. All the Devendra. Vannihi. The Indra word also for Parmeshwara is used. Indro Maya Bihi Puru Rupahi Iyate. I think in Shvetashveta. So that word Indra, in the Veda, word Indra generally is for Parmeshwara. Or word Indra can be Indra Devata, Devendra. So, well, who is a boss of all the Devatas. Then Vannihi, Agni Devata, Vignaha, Vigneshwara, Bhairavaha, Kala Bhairava, Mairalaha, I don't know that anyway. So Mairala Devata, let's take that way. And then Marika, right? So Marika. I think in Tamil Nadu somewhere I used to see that temple, Mariamma temple. I think that is Marika. That's what I feel. Huh? So, because I also don't know. Some of the Devatas I also don't know. Anyway, and so Yaksha Rakshasaha. Yaksha Rakshasa, not Rakshasa. So, that is, I think Bhagavan describes this Rakshagana. Celestial beings, like Yaksha is a celestial being. Devatas, Yakshas, these are all different types of celestial beings. Kinnaras, So, this Rakshasa looks Rakshasa, but Rakshati iti Rakshasa. That's how it is been told here. So, it's also one celestial being. So, it like Devatas are worshipped same way, Yakshas are worshipped, Rakshasas are also worshipped. And Bhagavan said in Bhagavad Gita, Vittesho Yaksha Rakshasam. So he describes also that I am in this, among this. Yaksha Rakshamsi, I think in chapter 11 also it comes. Chapter 17 also it comes. Yeah. What is that? Yajante Devata, something. Yeah. So there also it comes. That Rajasic, the people who have a Rajasic Shraddha, they worship this Rakshasa. And Rakshasa means this particular celestial beings. Yeah, another group of celestial beings like Yaksha, Devatas, Kinnaras, also Rakshasas. Anyway, so these are all Ishwaras. We worship in form of Devata, they are nothing but Ishwara. Part of Ishwara is Ishwara. 207. Viprakshatriya Vitshudraha Gavashva Prakshinaha Ashvatthavatachutatyaha Yavavrihi Trunadayaha. So another list they are giving. So why don't we do Avayavi Puja? Well, we don't do that and we do Avayava Puja, etc. That kind of question comes. Looks like it is impracticable, well, but it is not so. Because, see, everywhere, no one can, even in a simple case of, suppose you are buying a car or somebody is giving you a gift, suppose a car. So what does that person do? Suppose he lifts the whole car and gives to you, or he gives a just key to you, which is part of it. So this is everywhere. But here when it comes, people will have all problems. Rather than worshipping whole Ishvara, why should we worship just a part of it? But the Vyavara is like this. You can't worship the whole thing. And any Avayava is non-separate from Avayavi. It is part of it, and therefore, well, if you worship Avayava, it automatically worship goes to him only. Anyway, so Vipra. So Vipra is also Ishvara. This Brahmin, Kshatriya. Then Vit, Vaishya. Actually, Vish Shabda is there. Vish. Shakarantaha, Pullingaha, Vish Shabda. Prathama Vibhakti Ekvachanam, Vit. Vit, Vishav, Vishaha. So this is how Vit. Because here all in Prathama Vibhakti. Just listing. And therefore, Vit means Vaishya. All these are Ishvara, remember that. So basically, you can worship anybody in any form. That's what we say. All this, a person becomes basically medium for Virat Puja. If suppose you are worshipping a Brahmin, I mean, doing a tilakam and, etc., etc. You are basically giving respect to the person. So basically, even that person becomes just a medium for the Virat Puja. So when I worship like a person, really I'm invoking a Virat in that person only. And then Virat blesses me. And we feel that, that person may bless or not, that's a different thing. But Virat blesses you, depending upon your attitude. That's how Bhagavan said, yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta, etc., etc. So one can worship in any form. And that form may not bless you after worship, perhaps. But then if you invoke Virat, if you have an attitude that this is Virat only, because it's a part of Virat and therefore it is Virat, then Virat blesses you. That is how it is. And therefore, worship as such also never goes to Vyashti. Worship goes to Samashti only, because it is part. Vyashti is non-separate from the Samashti. If Vyashti is independent of Samashti, then you can say, well, the worship of a Vyashti goes to Vyashti. But Vyashti is non-separate from Samashti, then even though you worship a Vyashti individual, that goes to ultimately Samashti. So your attitude that I am worshipping Samashti will definitely bless you. Because in reality it is going to Samashti, but if you don't have that attitude, it will not bless. So your attitude that I am invoking a Virat or Ishvara in that particular person, that bless. Person may not bless, suppose, if he is not happy, suppose, with you, then he may not bless, will not, but then Virat will bless you because you have invoked, you are seeing a Virat in that. Therefore, so we have, animals are also worshipped, like Go Puja, etc. we do. So, because they are also Virat, so that also has been told here. Gava Ashva Murga Pakshina. Gava Ashva. So, Gau Ashva. Mruga. Mruga, well, definitely any animal. We have to take it. Mruga generally means we say deer. But in Sanskritam, word Mruga is used for any animal. And so all this also should be included. Brahman, Shudra, Vaishya, that all human beings, etc. And now then they are talking about animals. And Pakshina, all birds. And then now talks about all the trees. Ashwatha, Vata, Chuta, Adhyaha. Ashwatha, that fig tree, basically. And then people, we call, right? And Vata Vriksha. Definitely we are worshipping Vata Vriksha. Also we are worshipping this also. Ashwatha Vriksha also. And Chuta means a mango tree. Amra Vriksha. Adhyaha, etc., etc. So he is giving in groups. All human beings you can worship, they are Virat. All, birds, animals, etc. or trees, etc. plants. And then says, Yava Vrihi Trunadaya. Yava, barley. Vrihi, paddy. Rice. Trunadaya, grass. So now plant kingdom. Or some grains, etc. Maybe Ashwatha, Vata, Chutadhyaha, you can take them as trees. And Yavavrihi, Trunadaya, you can take as a plants. And all are nothing but Ishvara. So Sarve, this is a common sentence in everyone. Ishvaraha Sarveva. All these are Ishvara alone. Ishvara alone, like that it is. So that's how Hinduism is so tolerant, you see. And we are able to tolerate other religions, their forms, their forms of worship also. We are tolerant, basically, for everything. And if you remember, this Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, etc. also has come out from this Purusha, and they are part of Virat. That description is there in Purusha Suktam itself. Brahmanosya mukhamasid bahurajanya kritah uru tadasya yadvaishyah padbhyam shudraha abhijayata, etc. ajayata. So from the legs of this Virat, this Shudra are born. Means legs are basically Shudra of that Virat Purusha. Brahmanosya mukham asit. This Brahmana is nothing but the mouth of this Virat Purusha. Bahu rajanya krita. Rajanya means Kshatriya. So these Kshatriyas are nothing but these arms of this Virat Purusha. Uru Tadasya Yadvaishya. These Vaishyas are nothing but the stomach, etc. of the Virat Purusha. So this is nothing but all are limbs of Virat Purusha. Very nicely the description is there in Purusha Sukta. Anyway, so Yavavrihi Trunadaya. Let's go to further, 208. Jalapashana Mritkashtha Vasya Kuddalakadayah Ishvara Sarva Evaite Pujita Faladayinah. Pujita, they all can be worshipped. Faladayinah, they are basically valid. Faladayinah means when they will definitely give a phala. So the tribals all have a certain forms of a tribal worship, etc. And they offer also Naivedya of that type. Whatever they eat, they offer. What can they do? And so, there sometimes stale food also has to be offered. You know, sometimes, there is a particular day. I don't remember, I don't know how to say in English. But there is a particular day when the Ishvara is offered a stale food. Previous day everything is prepared. And next day it is offered. What you are going to eat, that you are going to offer. That's what it is. So, well, tribal worshippers, if they worship a some form, they offer something what they eat. And so, sometimes even all kinds of, animals also they offer. So, animal they sacrifice and then they offer, etc. Because that's what they are eating. So, that's how there are three forms of worship, which has been described in that 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Sattvic worship and Rajas worship and Tamas worship. We are not against anything. All a part of basically Virat only. And so here now says Jala Pashana Mritkashtha. Inert things now has been described. Earlier all sentient beings, now insentient beings. Jalam. Pashana means a stone. Then Mrit, clay, etc. There is a Mrittika Suktam in Veda, by the way. There is a prayer to Mrit. Oh Mother Mud. Like that there is an address there. And therefore, anyway, so Mrit, then Kashtha, and then wood, etc. Because in those days, why we feel a little odd. In those days, actually, they were using mud for cleaning. And I still remember some people in Tamil Nadu, especially, they use mud. I think muddies. These muddies, they use mud. They never use soap. Till today, I saw recently, means before few years when I was in China, I saw that they were using mud for cleaning the body. Soap means they won't touch at all. Some Brahmins, So basically, mud was used for cleaning in those days. So Mrittika Suktam, we are worshipping Mrittika Suktam. While applying a mud, people chant Mrittika Suktam. And so it's a wonderful thing. Now we should have a soap Suktam, but it is not there anyway. And as such, this body is made up of mud only, right? It is all Prithvi only. Anyway, Vasyam. Vasyam means basically we call it as an axe or a chisel used by that carpenter. That also is it's an inert thing. It's also a form of a Virat. Then Kuddalaka. Kuddalaka means a spade or a crowbar. That is also it's some instruments. And a particular day, I think Vishwakarma day, there is some Vishwakarma day. There, on that day, all these people, carpenters and blacksmiths and all, they basically, whatever the instruments they use, they keep it at the altar of worship and they worship. All this is part of our Sanskriti, it's great culture. So Ishvaraha, Sarva Evate, so all these are basically Ishvara. Pujitaha Phaladayinaha Bhavanti. So never look down upon any worship. So, I may be a scripturally very literate person, then I may be knowing all kinds of, all worships, etc. I know all upacharas, I know. So I may do a elaborate puja, and tribal may not know, he worship in his own way. Ultimately, all forms of worship reaches to Virat. That's how in Malayalam they were always saying that bhakti is more important than vibhakti. They were saying like this, bhakti is more important than vibhakti. Vibhakti means a grammar. So bhakti, devotion is better than in this all. Means once the devotion etc. comes, then you need not have to worry about all this. How do you worship basically? And we have several stories in Puranas, even how Shivji, was so pleased with the one person was just going near that linga, filling up with the water and then just spitting on that and doing abhisheka on that linga. Spitting literally. Still Bhagavan got pleased. So any form of worship ultimately. Okay. And so phaladayinah bhavanti means, well, definitely, one thing is that all worship gives a phalam. But depending upon the worship you will get phalam. That's for sure. Because it's a karma. So karma comes means gradation comes. Definitely. So phalam will be dependent upon a type of a devata, type of worship, etc. That will be there. And that, Vidyaranya clarifies in now next verse. Yatha yathopasate tam phalamiyus tatha tatha phalotkarsha apakarshautu pujya puja anusaratah. So, phalam, even though all worships are worship of basically Ishvara, Virat Purusha, and so you can invoke Virat in any form, any part, that's also true. But phalam won't be uniform. Duration of puja, type of puja, etc. All these things. Karma has a lot of that kind of a taratamya. And therefore, the result also will be of that kind. Like if you do a Lagurudra, 11 times chanting or offering, etc. So, chanting Rudra Prashna. So either 11 Brahmins sit and they chant once, whole Rudra Prashna, and offer also in that fire where you have invoked Rudra Devata. So Lagurudra. Or maybe Maharudra and Atirudra, and so many things are there. So then result will vary. So where you invoke a Virat Purusha Ishvara in a form of a Rudra Devata, but then karma, type of karma, duration of karma, etc. Of course, Shraddha, etc. also will come. That we'll talk later. But all these things will, so the result, everyone is invoking Ishvara and therefore everyone will have a same result. No. If one is doing a Lagurudra, the phalam will be accordingly less. If one is doing a Atirudra, etc., my God, maybe 10,000 times or something, I don't know. So that is how, then definitely the result will be more. So, depending upon a karma, type of karma, duration of karma, your attitude behind the karma, all these things will be counted while giving a karma phala by Ishvara. That will be there. That will be there. So, he says, yatha yatha upasate, in whatever way people worship, tam means Ishvara, Viratam, Virat basically. So, in whatever way people worship this samashti, tatha tatha iyuhu, accordingly the phalam they will get, or phalam comes to them. So every action has appropriate reaction, etc. So phalam will have that gradation, superior phalam, inferior phalam, etc. Higher phalam, lower phalam, etc. They are bound to be there. And what is the condition for that? Pujya puja anusarata. In keeping with the puja, in keeping with the devata which is invoked, Virat is invoked in that particular devata, in keeping with that devata, and puja anusarata. And also the method of worship, type of worship, duration of worship, all these things will definitely are counted while giving a result by Ishvara. So, one important thing is, suppose I am invoking a Surya Devata. Suppose I do a Surya Narayana Puja and Surya is a Devata of a Chakshu, and suppose I have some eye problem. So I am definitely invoking a Surya Devata, doing a Surya Narayana Puja, right? Chakshusha Upanishad or anything. Suppose I am doing that. Then definitely as a presiding deity of this Chakshu, it is also one of the Devata, but it is Vyashti Devata, right? Because it is blessing this eyes. Then he can give a benefit or phalam By, well, definitely not, further deteriorating the eyes or giving more vision to the eyes, powerful, etc. That's that phalam. Now, if I invoke Ishvara in that Surya Devata, not as a Devata of this eyes, etc. When I look upon the Surya Devata as just a Devata, then it will give a small phalam, definitely. Or I can invoke Virat in the Surya Devata because it's part of Virat only. Then the phalam will be different. If you invoke Ishvara in a given form, as such, Ishvara from the given standpoint, we have discussed this. Ishvara from a given standpoint, a given phenomena, natural phenomena, is called Devata. So, if we invoke Ishvara in a and that Surya, basically sun, so well then you don't look upon them as just a Devata who is doing anugraha on this Chakshu, but you are invoking Virat in that this Surya, sun, solar disk. The phalam will be different, much more. What I'm saying is much more, and therefore this is how basically either you invoke in a given thing, you can invoke just as a Devata, or you can invoke Ishvara, Virat in that. Then depending, if you invoke a Devata, then definitely phalam will be less. Surya Devata gives a limited phalam, but if you invoke Ishvara in a Surya Devata, well, he can give a much more phalam. Naturally, being Ishvara as such also is a karma phala data. Bhagavan said very clearly that nobody gives karma phala. The person feels that this Devata has given me phalam. But Bhagavan says, well, to keep his Shraddha intact in that particular Devata, I definitely, keep the Devata in front. And I am giving phalam. I am behind that Devata also, who is giving really the phalam. But basically, I keep his Shraddha intact, so that he will invoke, he will have a Shraddha. He has a Shraddha in that Devata, and his Shraddha in that Devata will remain intact. So basically, this is how it is. If you want a bigger phalam, you should invoke Ishvara in a given form. Don't just invoke Devata. So the difference in the result will be there depending upon my invocation. So anyway, so this is how it is. Surya can be invoked in a Samashti or a Vyashti. Similarly, Lakshmi, Saraswati, all. We can either invoke as a Devi or you can invoke a Parameshwari in that. Even Navagraha can be invoked as a Vyashti and Samashti both. So Puja and Puja. So Puja, depending upon Puja you get a result. Means in Puja, the form of worship, if you take it as just as a Devata, you will get a less phalam. If you invoke Ishvara in that Puja, well, you will get a more phalam. And then Puja also, type of worship, the length of worship, your Shraddha in that worship, etc. All also will be there. So that is how in Chandogya it has been told, Yadeva Vidyaya Karoti, Shraddhaya Upanishada, Tadeva Viryavattaram Bhavati, etc. etc. So Yadeva Vidyaya Karoti, Shraddhaya Upanishada. So Vidya basically, well, if you when you worship upasana, etc. That's a statement in the Chandogya for a upasana. Shraddhaya Upanishada, etc. Well, if you have a more Shraddha, etc. in that upasana, etc. Of course, upasya also. Then Viryavattaram Bhavati. So it becomes more. It becomes stronger. What? Phalam. Means you will get more phalam. It becomes more efficacious, we can say. So, phala upakarsha, phala utkarsha bhavataha. Apakarsha, utkarsha, the superiority, inferiority, etc., or higher phalam, lower phalam, less phalam, more phalam, etc., will be ultimately depending upon puja, type of worship, depending upon the devata as such, well, where what you invoke in that, either Ishvara, either devata, or type of worship, etc. So, phalam iyuhu, they gain result depending upon that. Even as I told you, even you can worship Acharya, like Puja Swamiji, etc. As Acharya, Puja, definitely. You will get one phalam. This is just by the way. If you invoke Dakshinamurti in the Acharya, you get different phala. On Guru Purnima day, suppose you are doing a puja of Puja Swamiji in your home, in a photograph or whatever. Suppose you are doing it. Now if you just look upon him as just Guru, because he has given this knowledge, then you will get phalam, definitely. Some punyam will be there. But if you invoke Dakshinamurti in that, the phalam will be different. Entirely different. So this is very, very important to know. Any given form, it's a part of Virat and therefore it is Virat. So if you can invoke Virat, or you can just look upon as just an individual kind or a Devata kind of a thing. If you look upon as a limited entity, you get limited result. This is what Bhagavan said in Bhagavad Gita. If you invoke me in a limited form and consider me as a limited entity called Devata, you get limited result. If you invoke Virat in that form, because it is non-separate from me, and therefore it is Virat only, then you get, definitely you are invoking Samashti. So you get a limitless result. That's how it is. So, well, I'm just telling you, by the way, you have not asked, but I'm telling you on my own. Always worship any Acharya, especially Puja Swamiji or somebody, in form of Dakshinamurti only. Because we want limitless result. We don't want limited result, etc. So, therefore, limitless result means moksha. And therefore, always worship like this. We need not tell others, I am looking upon Swamiji as this. Don't say to anybody. This is all secret, really speaking. Believe me. We should not tell publicly what worship I do, how I do. Don't say anything. People have a habit of blabbering this kind of things. I am doing this mantra and that mantra and this. Don't say. We also worship. Say, if they ask you, we also worship. Just say that. We need not have to tell lie. But what I am doing, etc., with what bhavana I am doing, etc., don't say anything. Keep mum. Sorry to say that. But these things, pujas, etc., japa, etc., we should not utter a single word. Even Puja Swamiji also was like that. I know him very well. And so, this is how, this is here also, as I told you, in Acharya or a Guru, well, you can worship as a Dakshinamurti or you can just worship as a Guru. Let's go to verse number 210. Muktistu brahma tattvasya jnanadev na chanyatha sapnabodham vina naiva swasvapno hiyate yatha. So with the previous verse 209, well, Vidyaranya concluded this Tatpadartha Vichara, which started in verse 104. If I just remind you, verse 22nd to 103, we did Tvam Padartha Vichara, analysis of a Tvam Padartha. And there we discussed so many aspects, right? And various about Jiva, what other philosophers also say, that also we saw regarding Jiva's Parimana, etc. Anyway, Tvam Padartha Vichara was done between verse 22nd to 103. From 104 to 209, Tat Padartha Vichara was done. And now there is a time now for a Mahavakya. So in Mahavakya, well, both this will be over. Tvam Padartha and Tat Padartha. So Mahavakya is Tattvamasi. So now we have to do a analysis of a Asi Pada. Asi means both are one, like that. That's the most important one, and that is there from this 210 to 246. Aikyam between Jiva and Ishvara will be discussed between these many verses, 210 to 246. And he introduced by saying here that this Jiva and Ishvara both will fall within samsara. Means both are limited. We have discussed this. Because all the three are Vyavaharika Satyam. Ishvara is as real as Jiva. Ishvara is as real as Jagat. And therefore, by basically everyone is limited. Ishvara is also limited, we have seen. The God's will and free will. If you remember, we discussed. God's will also, this whole creation is God's will. And this creation is Jiva's free will, karma. So there we discussed that Ishvara does not, God's will, it is totally free, then he could have created everything beautiful, all heaven. He has not created. Means definitely he is limited. He is limited. He is limited in creation. He has a certain jurisdiction. And then Jiva also has a certain jurisdiction. Jiva's karma, of course, plays a role. Jiva's free will also has a role, definitely. But he also cannot create this creation. Ishvara has to create. Ishvara cannot create independently with a total freedom. Well, he has to keep in the mind Jiva's karmas, free will also. So that is how both are limited. We should remember that way. And so, they all fall within that samsara. Samsara means a limitation. So to feel a samsari limited is another thing. Please understand. Ishvara is a samsari, I won't say. All are within samsara. Means everyone has a basically certain limited power. I mean, even though we say Ishvara is all power, etc., but still he has to take into account karmas, etc. So, Ishvara has a relative freedom, Jiva has a relative freedom, and well, as I told you, the Srishti cannot be according to the desire of Ishvara also. Our experiences are basically, governed by the karmas. So, well, if no restraint of a karma, etc., would be there, well, then Lord would have created all 14 lokas as beautiful, heaven-like, because he is having a lot of compassion. Then he would not create all these bugs, viruses and everything, this COVID and this and that. But basically all these things are there, all mosquitoes are there, everything is there, tumor cells are there. It's a creation, it's of Virat only. Anyway, but still we can't say Ishvara is a sadist, etc. And he is omniscient, omnipotent. Compassionate Ishvara should not have created like that, but basically he has created due to Jiva's karma only. And so here, so both are having a limited power. Only difference is this, even though both have a limited freedom, one does not feel that I am limited, other feels that I am limited. That's the difference. That's the difference. So even though you have a relative freedom, well, you don't say that I have a relative freedom or I am limited. Won't. That is Ishvara. That is. Otherwise, if everyone has a relative freedom, what is the difference between Jiva and Ishvara? The difference between Jiva and Ishvara does not feel a sense, it doesn't have a sense of limitation. Whereas Jiva has a sense of limitation. And the Jiva who also says that I'm not limited, he is equated with Ishvara. Ishvara also does not feel I am limited, even though with a limited power or limited freedom. When I say limited power means you will not be able to accept, but limited freedom, let us say. So when Ishvara also has a relative freedom, still he says I am limitless, in spite of relative freedom or limitations. Jnani also says the same thing. I am limitless in spite of limitations. Same thing. Limitations are there. So far as body is there, mind is there, senses are there. So in spite of limitation, one says I am limitless, he is a free. Absolutely free. That is what we are going to see now. That even though both Jiva and Ishvara have a relative freedom, but then one who Ishvara has understood Mahavakya, nothing to worry about. But Jiva has to understand this. Then Jiva and Ishvara difference will go away. Then the difference between them. So far as Jiva feels that I am limited, he is not one with Ishvara. Ishvara does not have that I am limited. Jiva is different from me. Ishvara does not have that. Definitely not. Jiva has. Jiva has to resolve. Mahavakya is for Jiva, not for Ishvara. That's the difference. Jiva's upadhi is, avidya, ajnana. Therefore he doesn't know. Ishvara is a sarvagnya, maya upadhi, superior attributes. So he is a sarvagnya. So he knows equation. He knows everything. And therefore, even though relative freedom, both have the same reality, when two things are equally real, then definitely both limit each other. When two things are equally real, then both limit each other. Definitely. And therefore, Jiva is as real as Ishvara, or Ishvara is as real as Jiva. In Vyavaharika Sattva, I am saying. Then definitely. And third is Jagat. Yeah, that's another thing. Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara, all are in a Vyavaharika plane. All are limited. All have a limited freedom. But that is at the Vyavaharika level, at the Mithya level, at the Upati level, etc. And I am the one who is limitless, and basically I am the one who is in the form of all the three. Well, that's a jnana that Jiva has to acquire. Jagat cannot acquire. It's inert. Jagat cannot acquire. Ishvara has already knowledge. Jiva only has to acquire. Out of three, Jiva only has to acquire this knowledge. Anyway, so this is how it has been told here. Muktistu Brahma Tattvasya Jnanadeva Nacha Anyatha. So Mukti is basically Brahma Tattvasya. So one should know oneself as a Brahman. That is Jnanadeva. That's from this Mukti. Moksha is basically from Jnanam. It is in the form of Jnana. Mukti is a result of Jnana. It's not. It's unlike Karma Phala, born of Karma. No. Mukti is in form of knowledge. And that knowledge, well, basically, I am free, is freedom. Nacha anyata, not in other way. Anyway, further we will see on Monday, I think. Today is Thursday, right? Oh, still Saturday. Oh, today is Friday. Yeah, Monday we will see. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.